So right here we see Yahweh the divine warrior is marching out to battle. And again, this is the Theophany. And O. Palmer Robertson, in his commentary at this point, he says that the great God is not just an abstract idea, a nebulous concept. He is a living person whose nature defines the meaning of personhood. He interacts powerfully with the world he has made. End quote. And that's what we're going to be seeing here. We're going to be seeing Yahweh interacting powerfully with the world he has made. He's entering into the creation, and he's bringing judgment with him. So the first phrase, the first line here is that in his way is whirlwind and storm. And it's out of the whirlwind that Yahweh twice answers Job, if you're familiar with the book of Job. And Ezekiel also sees Yahweh's glory in the whirlwind in Ezekiel chapter 1. And in verse 4 and then in verse 28, we read the following. It says, I looked, and there was a whirlwind coming from the north, a huge cloud with fire flashing back and forth and brilliant light all around it. The appearance of the brilliant light all around was like that of a rainbow in a cloud on a rainy day. This was the appearance of the likeness of Yahweh's glory. So notice again the whirlwind that Ezekiel sees that brings this glory of Yahweh here. And the second half of the line is, the clouds are the dust of his feet. And these are not the nice white puffy clouds of a leisurely afternoon. The clouds at the dust of Yahweh's feet here are the dark clouds of war. And the net actually translates that phrase as dark storm clouds billow like dust under his feet. And this is a reference to the cloud rider coming in judgment. And Yahweh the Cloud Rider is a famous title of the God of Israel. I'm going to go through a handful of verses here to show you this. It's Psalm 68 verse 4 says, Exalt the one who rides on the clouds, for Yahweh is his name. And Psalm 104 verse 3 says, He makes the clouds his chariot and travels along the wings of the wind. Isaiah 19:1 says, A pronouncement concerning Egypt. And just to point out that if you remember from our episode number 2, part 2 of Nahum, Nahum part 2, when we talked about the Massa, that's the word Isaiah uses here. A pronouncement or an oracle, the Massa, concerning Egypt. And Isaiah says, Look, Yahweh rides on a swift cloud and is coming to Egypt. Egypt's idols will tremble before him, and Egypt will lose heart. In Deuteronomy 33:26 and 27, says, There is none like the God of Jeshurun, who rides the heavens to your aid, the clouds in his majesty. The God of old is your dwelling place, and underneath are the everlasting arms. He drives out the enemy before you and commands, Destroy. In Psalm 18, 9 through 11, says, He bent the heavens and came down, total darkness beneath his feet. He rode on a cherub and flew, soaring on the wings of the wind. He made darkness his hiding place, dark storm clouds his canopy around him. So there again is the dark storm clouds. So those verses were all either Yahweh or God. And there's one more in the Old Testament that we're going to look at, and notice the difference here. It's very important. It's Daniel chapter 7, verse 13. And Daniel says, I continued watching in the night visions, and suddenly one like a son of man was coming with the clouds of heaven. So here Daniel says that he sees one like the son of man, or one like a human being, coming with the clouds of heaven. So Daniel sees a man here riding the clouds. So all these other verses had Yahweh or God riding the clouds. The one who rides the clouds, Yahweh is his name, as the psalm said. But here Daniel says it's one like the Son of Man. So then when we get to Matthew 26, verse 64, when Jesus is on trial and he says to the high priest, when the high priest tells him, commands him to answer, are you the Messiah? And Jesus said to him, "You have said it yourself, but I tell you, from now on you will see the Son of Man sitting at the right hand of the power and coming on the clouds of heaven." So Jesus here is referencing Daniel 7:13, where the one like the Son of Man coming on the clouds, and Jesus says that basically he's saying that that's me. I am the Son of Man, and you'll see me coming on the clouds of heaven. So Jesus right there is claiming to be Yahweh, the Cloud Rider. The high priest understood this, and that's why they crucified him. They crucified him for claiming to be Yahweh, the Cloud Rider, the God of Israel. And we also see in Revelation 1 verse 7, when it says, "Look, he is coming with the clouds." So this idea of Yahweh, the God of Israel, the Cloud Rider, who is also the Son of Man in Daniel, is also, Jesus claims to be that individual, and the book of Revelation says the same thing. So when we're talking about the Cloud Rider, and we see in Nahum where he says that the clouds are the dust of his feet, this is again another one of the references to the Cloud Rider. And it's interesting if you think about it, if the clouds are the dust of his feet, then you have the image of him walking through the air, right? Walking in the sky or on the vault. And in Ephesians 2:2, Satan is called the ruler of the kingdom of the air. So when we see Yahweh treading on the air, this is also symbolic of the Most High trampling Satan's kingdom underfoot. He's trampling the kingdom of the ruler of the air as he walks along the sky, as he rides the clouds through the sky. And this is a very similar idea to when Jesus walks on the water. That symbolizes Jesus' mastery over and treading upon the chaos. So it's interesting to see when and where it talks about God walking using this type of language. We need to notice, what is he walking upon, and what's the deeper meaning of the symbolic significance of where he is walking. And final point on this verse, it's interesting to note that in Revelation 16, the final bowl of wrath is poured out on the air. And after which point God shouts, "It is done." So I suggest this is also linked to this idea of Satan's kingdom being the kingdom of the air, and the bowl of wrath being poured out upon the air, the final bowl being poured out on the kingdom of Satan there.